So good morning. My name's Jenny Gove, and I'm a lead researcher on the Google Pay team.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brandon Herring, and I'm the design lead for Google Pay.
And today, we're going to look at how to design great payment experiences with Google Pay. We're going to cover what we've learned with partner integrations and integrating Google Pay into some of our own products. And we'll talk about how you can easily create great checkout experiences to get great results. Through watching many usability studies over the years, I'm well aware that e-commerce experiences can be the high point of frustration for users. That's because they're often the low point of the entire shopping experience. There's friction everywhere. You start typing in information, but something's wrong, right? Red errors appear in the forms. Addresses don't match, so you try again. You add your credit card number, but it's wrong, and so you try that again. You need to create an account, but the password isn't strong enough, and you get told that, and you need to think again. Or the two passwords don't match, or you already have a password, but you can't remember it. Every one of these experiences represents an opportunity for a user to decide it's not worth it. At every red error, at every point of friction, users can abandon their purchase. This results in lost sales for retailers and lots of irritation for users. In fact, we recently did an audit in Europe of more than 400 top sites and found that very many of the basic things that we should do correctly for forms are not being implemented. For example, we found that 46% of top sites don't implement error messaging in real time. So when users make an error, they don't know about it until they go to hit that submit button, and then they're told, and then they have to look for where that error is. It means that almost half of the top sites don't optimize their error messaging for ease of use. And we found that 29% of sites don't allow users to navigate back and forth in the flow, perhaps in the checkout experience, without losing information that they've already entered. So these types of issues lead to much frustration for users who are trying to complete their transaction. So it's no wonder that 69% of digital carts are abandoned before the purchase has been completed. These numbers represent a significant opportunity to improve the experience for consumers and to create checkout flows that bring delight in their simplicity. Earlier this year, we announced that we'd unified our payment systems and products under one brand, Google Pay. And today, we want to talk to you about how Google Pay is changing the way people pay for things online and in stores.
So Google Pay gives users one place to easily manage all their payment information. From seeing the cards and keeping sure that they're up to date, to seeing their latest transactions, Google Pay is giving users a flexible and comprehensive digital wallet. And users, they can leverage this account information to speed through checkout in apps, online, and in store. The app already has more than 100 million installs, which is incredible. That's enabling top merchants from DoorDash to Lyft to Airbnb and a lot more to enable seamless checkouts for their users. And Google Pay is powering transactions across our first-party properties, from the Google Assistant to the Play Store, Chrome, YouTube, and more. When developers implement Google Pay, they can create experiences without payment forms. It's super easy for users, really easy for developers to implement. And users with a payment method linked to their Google account can check out instantly anywhere they see the Google Pay button. And because hundreds of millions of payment methods are already saved to Google accounts today, developers can start to implement this solution across the globe immediately and deliver at Google scale. With Google Pay, users are instantly ready to check out the first time they visit an app or site, or even in a guest checkout flow. They no longer need to add a payment method to every single merchant that they want to transact with. They can zip through checkout quickly and easily. And with less friction, the The user experience is improved, users are happier, and transactions increase. And we're seeing this already validated with a lot of our partners. Hotel Tonight has found that customers who were enabled with Google Pay were 65% more likely to complete a booking flow. And Airbnb has seen their transaction volume jump 11 times since implementing the latest version of Google Pay. And Jenny's going to tell us a little bit about how we got there.
Thank you, Brandon. So we're going to talk about some of the best principles that went into creating Google Pay, the practices around how you can develop great checkout experiences with the system effectively, and a little bit about how Google Pay is enabling assistive transactions with voice. Because consumer products are dependent on the user experience, we started with a user-focused approach to meet those needs. We began defining an overall vision of what we wanted to do to create safe and easy checkout experiences for everyone, everywhere. We informed our vision through conducting foundational research. And then we carried our learnings from this into our design work. And then we iterated on the designs, all informed through user testing and usability testing. And we published developer guidelines for our community of developers. We're continuing to update and improve and optimize our platform for consumers and for developers. Let's look at this user-centered approach again with more specifics about the activities that we took for each phase. So our first step involved conducting research to understand the broader picture, the user's needs around payments in their lives. And we visited different regions across the globe. We went to Europe and North and South America, and we visited Asia. And we explored users' payment methods and needs through conducting research there. We learned about the importance of speed and efficiency, security and privacy, and these learnings have really shaped the design work that we've done for Google Pay. Taking these learnings, we established a set of principles and created a design system that would meet those needs. And we tested our designs with usability studies. In key phases of the product development, we ran studies every 2 weeks, iterating as we uncovered issues and we could make improvements to the product. We dedicated ourselves to the details and to getting it right with our users. We also iterated through conducting live experiments with our partners and used this data in a complementary way to inform our design decisions. Based on all our learnings throughout this process, we've published guidelines for developers in order to take advantage of this work and make implementation clear and easy.
So let's take a look at some of the principles that we established that guided us through the process Jenny just talked about. First and foremost, Google Pay has to be fast. We know users want a quick and easy checkout flow and experience online. We want to remove that friction with a lightweight UI that's super intuitive to use and easy for users. And we've seen this in practice with Game Time, which is an app that lets users purchase tickets for events and concerts they want to go to. Google Pay is front and center the moment a user encounters an event they want to attend. Even before they've signed in, they're already ready to pay. Because of this, users can check out and purchase their tickets in only 2 taps. Google Pay loads a lightweight UI that shows them their account, the payment method they're going to use. One more tap, they're done. It's really fast, it's super easy, and that means for Game Time users, all they really need to worry about is whether or not their favorite team's going to make the playoffs this year. And I'm optimistic about mine, so fingers crossed there. This is obviously great for users, but this efficiency also leads to results. Game Time found that users who had Google Pay were 2 times higher to convert than users who just had a payment card saved to Game Time. So, in other words, even when a user has a payment method already saved with a merchant, the seamlessness that Google Pay can offer leads to a higher conversion rate. The second principle was around scale. So this meant a few things to us. We needed to address a global audience. We needed to support a variety of payment methods. We also need to create a place where users can update their payment information once and have it available anywhere they sign in. And of course, we also need to make sure we're supporting more than just the Android ecosystem, that we're across browser and we're across OS, some of which we announced this week. So we have to enable users to check out quickly and easily, no matter where they are. With our first-party integrations, we already support a wide variety of payment methods, and we're bringing this scalability to developers, letting users pick however they want to pay, from leveraging all the payment methods they have on file with Google to new experiences like e-money for in-store in Japan and PayPal for in-store. We make it really easy to implement localized buttons. That lets developers reach a global audience. And we've made it really easy to manage your payment methods, too. Now users can update that information in the Google Pay app, iOS or Android, or on the Google Pay web, and have that immediately available anywhere they're signed in. This is a huge win for users, but it's a really big win for developers because it ensures that a user's payment information is going to be available and work any app or site that they want to transact with. And of course, Google Pay needs to work anywhere they can access their Google account. So across operating systems from Android to iOS, which we just announced, and browsers beyond just Chrome, but into Safari, Firefox, and more, enabling people to check out regardless of browser preference or device preference. This expands the reach that developers have, and it increases the user benefit.
Now, we know from conducting research that one of the single biggest concerns that users have with digital payments is around security. And we've worked hard to give users the security, transparency, and control they need to feel confident in each transaction. The importance of security, as I mentioned, comes up again and again in user research. We know that it's both important to be secure, but also to convey that security to users. With Google Pay, we meet these needs from the base up. From secure storage infrastructure, card tokenization, and authentication, through communications such as notifications, and supplemental technologies such as device security. So let's take a closer look. As you'd expect, Google Pay rests on Google's secure data storage infrastructure, using industry-standard encryption to keep your payment details safe. For transactions, we support and encourage tokenization for in-store and online use cases. Users transacting with cards issued from supporting banks can tokenize these in the Google Pay app and then transmit a virtual account number, the token, instead of their real one when they pay at participating merchants. We've also worked with payment gateways and processors to securely transmit payment credentials online. But beyond the actual underlying technology, it's important to reinforce security through conveying information about transactions transparently. We provide transaction notifications for supported cards so consumers know if a transaction is being made. Notifications is just one of the ways that we're communicating transactions to users. We're also combining their transaction history across Google properties, your website and apps and stores into a single place on our mobile and web platforms. And this provides a new destination for users to view their transactions. Device security is also important to users when considering payments. Android users can use the Find My Device service to remotely locate a lost device, of course, and one that's associated with a Google account, and then they can secure that device immediately, remotely from a distance. And in terms of user authentication, we're currently exploring different practices. For example, in the Play Store, we've implemented user control options for the scheduling of authentication, as you can see here. Users can choose to authenticate on purchases on Google Play on the device and set a schedule for when this happens. And there's the option to switch from password to fingerprint authentication as they purchase. Here you can see this option in Settings and the request for a password to confirm that. And in the third screen, the confirmation that the fingerprint authentication has been selected. The user now has their new fingerprint authentication option as they purchase. So we're giving users security, but also convenience within their checkout flow. Google Pay is secured in multiple ways, and we're continually learning about and improving the way we convey that security to our consumers so that they can transact with confidence. And all of this means that when users see Google Pay in your app or on your site, they're more likely to choose it as a way to pay because they trust it to handle their transactions securely, as well as quickly and easily. The last principle that we're going to review here is about delivering an experience that's unified. We've unified our services, and we've also made it simpler for users to get started and to pay anywhere with their Google account. Specifically, we've created a singular destination which brings together all of the payment activity under this unified brand. And in addition, we've added new payment use cases and functionality to our app. When we talked about security just now, we talked about the user experience principle of transparency being important. And one way we're achieving this through Google Pay is with this unified destination for users to see and manage their payment information and activity. Having an overview for transactions and payment methods gives users a lot of peace of mind, we found. With the Google Pay app, we've brought together all the functionality relevant to people's broader payment experiences. The home screen of the Google Pay app shows the user's in-store payment methods, as well as helpful information like their latest transactions that they've made, and contextual information like nearby places that they can use stored loyalty cards or stored gift cards. With Google Pay, users now have the ability to see and manage all of their payment information, from tokens for in-store payments to payment methods they've already stored in their Google account. This is also where users can fix anything that requires their attention, such as updating existing cards or adding new cards to their account. In addition to storing merchant loyalty cards, Google Pay now stores tickets, so concert tickets, sporting tickets, and train and plane tickets. These can all now be kept in one easy-to-find place, and they can be redeemed through barcodes or NFC. Peer-to-peer payment functionality will also be soon be fully integrated into Google Pay, making it easier to pay friends back or family back for shared expenses. And recently, we've launched new experiences supporting mobile transit in cities like London, Las Vegas, and Portland. And additional transit agencies are coming on board, such as tram, metro, rail, and bus systems in Birmingham and the entirety of the West Midlands in the UK. Including support for activities like transit, loyalty, and paying friends means that Google Pay can be relied upon by hundreds of millions of users as a daily transaction tool. And in this, we're building invested users and a trusted ecosystem for your businesses to rely on. And this adds up to a comprehensive payment solution that keeps users engaged and they're ready to pay anywhere.
Great. So I want to do a quick demo just to show how quick you can actually check out with Google Pay. So if you could switch to the demo, please. So I'm going to use DoorDash today. And Ginny, are you getting hungry yet? It's a little early, but...
Yeah, something for lunch would be great.
Let's see. So we'll get some Mexican food. All right. And I've never added a payment method to this app, so I'm just going to get going here. We'll do quesadilla, maybe veggie. Add that.
That sounds good. Can we have something with chicken?
Yes. How about, let's do a burrito with chicken. Sounds good. All right. I'm going to add that to my cart. And so now I'm going to go check out my cart. And everything there looks great. So I'm going to check out. And this is the point where, as a user, I start to sweat, my heart rate goes up, right? Because I know there's a form that's going to ask for all this information. But when I look here, I'm actually already ready to pay because I have Google Pay on this phone. So I'm going to just place the order, and that's it. I'm actually not going to continue because I don't think we'll get to where this food's going to be delivered in time. But if I hit this button, the burritos are on the way. So if we could switch back to the slides now. Thank you. So I just want to highlight a couple of things that I think DoorDash did pretty well in this flow. First, when I looked at my cart, they surfaced all the relevant details, and they made it really easy to review. This is a really critical step to make sure you're not surprising users, and I'm actually going to talk a little more about this later. But they made it really easy to see what I'd ordered, if I had special orders, if I made any special requests, fees associated with that, the tax, delivery, etc. And then when I got to checkout, they just defaulted me to Google Pay. As a user, I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to say, oh, maybe I'll try Google Pay. It just was already there, and it worked. This is a huge benefit to having to avoid checkout, having to make users think about it, right? It avoided forms, and it kept the entire flow really, really smooth. Of course, you can start to leverage this immediately with the site g.co/pay/developers. That's got all the API details for you to check out.
All right. Now, unfortunately, we know, of course, that forms aren't going away. But when a user does encounter a payment form, we've made lots of improvements to the experience and made autofill an integral part of Google Pay. Users really appreciate it when websites save them time by automatically filling common form fields, things like names, addresses, and credit card information. And so autofill helps to bypass all those input errors we talked about before. And these can be, as you know, particularly prevalent on virtual keyboards and small devices. Chrome has billions of 30-day active devices around the world. And those users of those devices are already checking out with merchants online. And so this is a significant pathway to enabling seamless payments everywhere a user is signed into Google. Our research found that by correctly using autocomplete attributes on your forms, users complete them up to 30% faster. So by ensuring the autocomplete process is working correctly, you can improve the online experience for your users. As developers, you can give hints to the browser by providing both the name attribute and the autocomplete attribute on each input element to help data be autocompleted correctly. Autocomplete attribute values are part of the current WhatWG HTML standard. Commonly used autocomplete attributes are shown here, and you can find these at the link provided here. Now, here are the specific attributes for credit cards. One thing to take note of is that the attribute for the verification or security code is CCCSC, standing for Card Security Code. It's not CCCVC or anything else. We see that sometimes. And that simple issue can cause autofill not to work appropriately. So let's make sure you get that one right. And let me also walk you through another example of a common mistake we see made with autofill. Now, a user experience best practice is to label form fields outside of the fields, like you can see here. And that's really good because it's this permanent reference for the user of the type of information that's needed in that field. Form fields also have placeholders, text that's shown in the field that typically give examples of the sorts of data that would be placed there. We've seen developers use fake placeholders instead of using placeholder attributes, and then use JavaScript to remove that value. And this makes it hard for autofill to determine if the user had inputted the values versus it being default text in the field. And it results in the fields not being autofilled. So that's another one to watch out for, and make sure you use that placeholder attribute appropriately. So by implementing these attributes correctly, you can help ensure that users don't experience errors as their form information is filled in. More information on autocomplete attributes and some of the errors that commonly occur, we've got a list of them there. Some best practices can be found at this link. So now we've talked about users using their cards from Google Pay via autofill. Let's talk about how we get cards into Google Pay via autofill. When a user fills out a form, their credit card information is saved to their Google account, which ensures that next time the user is ready to pay without having to add any card information again. And this saves the user very much time and effort in checking out. It reduces the number of abandoned checkout experiences. And it grows the ecosystem, of course, beyond the hundreds and millions of cards already saved to Google accounts. By aligning autofill with Google Pay, we're ensuring users know that the autofilled payment information is coming from their Google account. The end result is millions of more people, our users, who are ready to pay, enabling frictionless checkout experiences for users and merchants globally. And that's a win-win.
So how can you, as developers, take full advantage of Google Pay? Jenny just walked through some really great examples of how autofill can really improve the experience when you leverage it right and you fill it out correctly and you set it up in a way that's going to work for users. Integrating the button is going to make that more seamless, because even though autofill is awesome, it's still forms. And Google Pay bypasses forms altogether. And so to be effective, there are a couple of things that I want to talk through that you guys can keep in mind when you're designing with Google Pay. So first, we covered this. It's really worth reiterating. Make Google Pay the default payment method for users when they're new to your site or app. By doing this, you're going to really create that truly magical experience where payment just happens. And it's not just they had to do it. When they're done, they say, that was awesome, right? Users don't have to do anything, and they're ready to pay before they even sign in, which leads to my next point. Another really easy way to streamline the payment experience is to allow a guest checkout option for your customers. Account creation slows down the process. It's another form to fill out. It leads to more frustration and cart abandonment. There was a recent study from, it's called the Baymard Research Institute. They're an e-commerce research organization. They found that forced account creation was the second biggest reason for cart abandonment. So the second biggest reason. So it's a very real threat to your transaction volume. And when you integrate Google Pay into your guest checkout, you just make it really easy for users to get through and get on with it. They don't have to think about it, and they can complete that transaction. Once they have a successful transaction, then prompt them to create an account. But if you can reduce that initial friction, it's really going to significantly increase your conversions. Make sure you display all relevant transaction details. When a user sees the drawer for Google Pay, that's often the last thing they see before the transaction, as we saw in the demo. So before they do that, you really want to make sure you're eliminating any surprises, any tax that exists, fees, etc. In that same study from the Baymard Institute that I referenced, they found that 23% of users abandoned purchases because they didn't see the total cost up front. So that's 1 in 4 folks. So it's, again, another really easy thing you can do that's just, it's going to have an impact. This example here is from Fancy, which is an online shopping site. Shows a really good example of them creating a really scannable, I can see my shipping cost and if there's tax and the total, and I can see the amount, and it's all right there. I don't have to think too much, right? It verifies what I know to be true. And they're also showing that I'm going to pay with Google. And in this case, they're even showing that I'm going to use my Amex. So that's another important point, that you can minimize user confusion when you if you can surface the payment method that they're also using with Google Pay. This is especially important when users have more than one card on file. There are a lot of ways you can display this information. You can use the Google Pay mark with the card. You can simply have it in a text string, whatever kind of works for your site, your app. But it is a really important thing that you can do to just give users, again, we're trying to build trust through this process and not make users have to think and say, wait, which card did I use? What was it? So these are just ways you can streamline this experience and keep users moving. And then once they have made the purchase, it's not necessarily over, right, from a flow standpoint. They may want to go find that receipt. They may have things that they need to send it to somebody. There's some reason, right? So when they go look for that receipt, or when that receipt comes in, at that point, also make sure you're being consistent and you're displaying this stuff the exact same way you displayed it throughout the process. So again, build that trust, keep users moving, don't make them think too much about it. I think in this case, you also definitely want to show the payment method used, because at this point, the payment's been done, and this is going to just give them that full context. The buttons. The Google Pay buttons come in 2 flavors. There's a dark button, there's a light button. In most cases, we really recommend that you use the dark button, because most sites out there and apps out there are white, and modern apps and sites have a lot of white space. So use the dark button. It's really going to stand out more. It's going to give users a really strong CTA. We've seen implementations where there are the white button on the white site, and you can imagine it doesn't stand out that well, and users are going to miss it. So this is just another easy one to keep users moving through it, let them get on with it. If you do have a dark site, then the white button's going to work awesome. And lastly, for really quick and easy implementation, make sure you're using one of our recommended payment processors. In the demo yesterday, they showed how easy it was to set up the button. And part of that is because these processors have done a lot of the logistical work for you. They make it super easy to get started, and you can get a full list of these guys at g.co/pay/business. So hopefully, these details have given you guys some really concrete things you can put into place right now to make sure that you're enabling customers to check out really quickly, really easily. If you want to know more, you can go to g.co/pay/brand, and that's going to give you all the assets and how to use them and make sure you're implementing them correctly. And then at g.co/pay/developers, you can get more details about the API.
Thank you. So now we're going to take a look at some new experiences with Google Pay. But before we do so, let's just stop to consider that the first online digital transactions happened in the mid-1990s. So it's taken 20 years of research, design, and optimization to get people comfortable with online purchases. The e-commerce industry has come a long way. And as you've seen, we at Google are hard at work making that even easier for our users across a variety of devices. And as device capabilities have expanded beyond traditional experiences, we've worked hard to adapt the lessons of the last 2 decades to new modalities devices support. While the same principles of fast and efficient, scalable, secure, and unified are just as applicable for different modalities, such as voice and conversational transactions, how these principles are applied must change. On phones, users' personal devices, asking users to re-verify their identity before completing a purchase may add unnecessary friction. While on a Google Home, if it's a communal device, say shared with family or perhaps friends living together, verifying identity could be very appropriate, assuring the user they have control over the purchases that are made. We're working towards providing people with the controls to make the right authentication decisions for their context. And all of this helps to ensure that when users want to make a purchase through the assistant, the experience feels natural and easy. So let's make a payment transaction as applied to voice transactions. OK, Google, order my usual from Starbucks.
Hi, Jenny. Starbucks here. That's 1 tall Earl Grey. Anything else?
No, that'll be all, thanks.
And are you picking that up at your usual Starbucks?
Yes.
OK, that'll be $3.45, but the balance on your Starbucks card is only $1.04. Do you want to reload your card?
Yes, put $20 on it.
OK, I've added $20 to your Starbucks card with Google Pay. Your total is $3.45. Are you ready to place the order?
Yes.
OK, I put your order in and it'll be ready soon. Enjoy.
Great. Looking forward to that.
Should have got 2.
As new devices are introduced and new interactions become possible, we'll continue to invest in these new modalities to ensure that we present our users with the best experiences to support their lives.
With Google Pay, we've focused on making something that's fast and efficient, scalable, secure, and really a unified brand that's recognized around the world as something that's easy to pay, right? Whether that's in-store, online, or through new experiences, as Jenny just showed with voice. Google Pay gives users a totally seamless checkout experience. There are hundreds of millions of payment cards on file, and that's a huge benefit for developers as they start to create the seamless checkout experiences of today, but also of tomorrow with assistive experiences and more. You know, I think the future is definitely going to be formless, right, as we go into more voice. So this is really awesome stuff that we can do. And it kind of leads to my final point, which is just I do think this is a really exciting time for payments. There's so much coming. There's so much cool stuff happening. And I'm personally excited to see what all of you guys come up with as we move forward. I want to call out that we have one more session later today that's actually going to go into a lot more detail on the demo that Jenny just did. You can learn about all the assistant actions. And so check out Add Transactional Capabilities to Your Actions, and that is on stage 5 at 2:30.
And a reminder that we have developer documentation available at these links. And we'll be adding to these as more experiences are built for Google Pay. We'd love to hear from you, so don't forget to provide feedback on our session on the website schedule. And we'll be in the sandbox afterwards to take any questions, so do come and see us in Dome G. And if you haven't checked out this already, you can see some really cool experiences of future payment experiences, including in-store interactive retail experiences that are there in Dome G to try. So do stop by.
I tried it, and it was very cool.
Enjoy the rest of I/O, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.